Hello my loves, how are we doing? It's been a while since we've had a natter and a heart to heart, and as the video suggests, this is going to be an updated video of my struggles being British born Chinese, and also I want to take the opportunity to talk about the ways I want to celebrate being British born Chinese as well, because a lot has changed since I last filmed a video 4 years ago, namely my eyebrows as well. Apparently 4 years ago I really loved a bold eyebrow. In this video I want to elaborate more on some of the points that I had touched on then, as well as talking more about body image, community, the ways I feel like I have changed, and the work that I am doing and the ongoing things I am doing as well. I'm now 29 years old, turning 30 in August, and that in itself is a whole new chapter that I'm currently navigating through and learning so much about myself. Before we begin, I want to thank our sponsor for this video, which is BetterHelp. So I mentioned at the start of this year that I recently started therapy in December, and it's only been 3 months so far, but it has already made such an impact on my day-to-day life, both personally and professionally, and most importantly, my mental health as well. There's a network of over 20,000 professional therapists, and they all specialize in lots of different areas. And one thing I really liked about BetterHelp is that when I first signed up, I was able to choose and break down exactly what I was looking for. For example, I could say that I preferred a female therapist, and particularly for me, I wanted a therapist of color as well, because I wanted to talk a lot about my identity. Within that, there's also lots of different areas that you can break it down into. And within 48 hours, BetterHelp will then assess all of your needs and match you with a therapist, and also you have the option to pick as well as to change therapist if you don't get on with that, which is very, very important. Thankfully for me, my therapist is absolutely amazing. There's no way I want to change her. She has made such a huge impact. I'm going to get teary just even thinking of talking about this. She has made such a big impact in such a short amount of time. When you are matched with a therapist, you are able to schedule according to your needs, and you can do it from the comfort of your own home, from the studio. For me, it's very important to be in a safe space where I feel like I'm able to be vulnerable and discuss personal matters with, whether it's from bed or from my armchair or from my kitchen table, and I can choose depending on how I'm feeling that day whether I want to do a phone session, a video session, or a text-based one as well. And then I usually schedule that once a week, depending on my flexibility, which I love because I'm freelance and I'm often traveling on the go as well, so I'm not constricted to only being in London-based offices. There's so many things I love about BetterHelp. Another feature I love is that they have a voice message feature as well, so you're able to be in touch with your therapist 24/7 outside of your weekly sessions, and then they then respond in a timely manner. Depending on your session, the therapist is able to assign you worksheets to work throughout the week, and you submit it on the app. And this, for the first few weeks when I was guiding myself into therapy and kind of having an understanding of what it entails, was particularly beneficial for me as well, because it made me have a deeper understanding of what I wanted to work and actually ask myself questions I've never asked myself before, and often very, very difficult, uncomfortable conversations, which, you know, isn't fun but necessary. I actually find BetterHelp to be a lot more affordable compared to some of the research I was doing in physical sessions here in the city, and there's also financial aid for those who require it as well, and this is a service that's also available to clients worldwide. If you are interested in taking charge of your mental health and you want to join over 2 million other people on BetterHelp, then I do have 10% off you for your first month. So if you go on betterhelp.com, that's betterhelp.com/SHU, then you get 10% off your first month, and also put it on the screen as well as the description box that you can click through. Without further ado, let's get on to the rest of the video. So as I was saying, I'm 29, turning 30 in August, and I like to think 4 years on that I'm a little bit wiser. I have learned a lot, and I feel a lot more secure with who I am as a person and who I am, balancing the dual identities of being British and Chinese. And a huge thing as well that's come out of it in the past 4 years is that I've now been introduced to so many incredible new friendships from people in the East and Southeast Asian ESEA community, and for their friendships I am so grateful and appreciative of. And this was something I never really grew up with due to the nature of Chinese takeaways, that often they are scattered around in different pockets all around the country. So being able to see somebody that looked like me or had a similar upbringing and shared experience was very, very rare. It was a very, very isolating experience as a child growing up, often being one of the only people of colour in your class, and going through certain changes, particularly hormonal, as a teenager, and feeling like nobody really understood the nature of, you know, living in a tiny, tiny small village in the south coast of England, growing up about a Chinese takeaway which was so different to my peers. I had such a desperate urge to have that feeling of belonging, But instead, because of how I felt, and there was a lot of internalized racism I recognized growing up within me as well, that I furthered myself away from who I was at a core, and I saw all the differences and saw those as flaws rather than things to celebrate, which I now do, and it's something I'm so proud to celebrate, to be who I am. Oh, getting emotional just even thinking about it. But yeah, I mean, you can see in the previous video the kind of things that I would do as a child, like lathering myself up so I had lighter skin because I thought that would make me more desirable and people to be more accepting of me, versus now where I'm just so proudly showing off my natural skin tone, and being able to celebrate that and to be able to be surrounded by such a strong, inspiring, incredible support network of people that look like me and able to voice these shared experiences with has been phenomenal, in a sense of just making me feel a lot more understood, a lot more accepted, and it just finally feels like that jigsaw puzzle that I've been searching for. Those little missing pieces have all been found over lockdown, with these beautiful friendships that I'm just very, very grateful for. I spent a lot of my 20s trying to understand what it meant to be British, Chinese, and being able to be both. And a lot of things that I discuss in therapy now is that often, especially in, you know, stressful situations or situations where I feel like I'm torn between two different sides, it's quite hard for me to try and navigate in my mind who actually am I outside of who I've associated myself against. For example, over the past few years, I talk a lot about being British Chinese. I've explored that side a lot more. I've been a lot more confident about wanting to, you know, better my Cantonese, wanting to learn Mandarin, wanting to learn a lot more about my culture, the history, wanting to do more for our communities as well. But at the same time, I also felt like I was also, in a sense, confining myself to only being British Chinese, and I also lost a sense of actually who I was outside of that. There's, you know, my core values and my core traits within myself, but sometimes I have to question it, thinking, are they actually traits that I actually am, or is it shaped by who I feel like my identity, being British Chinese, has created and molded? So there'll be some times when I'll say certain things and I'm like, actually, is that actually me saying it, or is that am I saying it to try and avoid conflict? Is that a way of me saying that because I want to people please? And that's just presented a whole new kettle of fish that I'm now trying to learn. But it's been very, very interesting to try and identify the contrasting natures of who I am, both being British side and being the Chinese side, and actually figuring out within all of that who I actually am as a product of those things, as a person, as an individual, and me. A lot of what I talk about is about Asian representation as well. I honestly feel like representation exceeds far beyond talking about race and about my personal experience being British Chinese. And to me, representation is about being able to talk about everyday subjects. It's not talking about Chinese food, it's not talking about being Cantonese, it's not talking about racism or discrimination. I can talk about something like travel, I can talk about makeup, I can talk about cooking, I can talk about all sorts of subjects that isn't just limited to my skin colour and my heritage. I think it's incredible to be able to harness, you know, the strengths of the community and to be able to raise so much more awareness about all of the issues that we need to talk about, need to raise more awareness about, and to call people in for. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't want, you know, the trauma and the discrimination and the racism to be the only things that we're associating of community as well, because there's so much more to offer. We have so much talent, we have so much brilliance and excellence that we want to shout about as well, and across so many different fields and so many different industries that isn't just limited to who we are and our heritage and our skin colour. Quick sip. Oh. Okay, let's move on. Also, in the years that I've matured, I feel like I also have an even greater appreciation for my parents. Growing up, I really wasn't able to understand exactly the scale of the sacrifices that my parents had made in order to move to a different country to bring us up. And, you know, the long hours, standing up on their feet for over 10, 12, 14 hours every single day, and all of the values that they have instilled in me as well, that I hope that I'd be able to learn from and to practice day in and day out. Growing up, I had so much self-hate towards myself and who I was, and like I said earlier, the things that make me unique were the very things that I ostracized myself against and really punish myself against are now celebrated traits within myself that I want to radiate and shine and talk a lot more about, and that leads me on to talking about body image. So I've spoken at length about my relationship with my body and orthorexia in my early 20s. There are days where I still have so many insecurities about my body, particularly where I notice bodily changes and my form changing and things like that. It can be a slippery slope, and it can be particularly triggering given the time of the year that we're in as well, where sometimes it's easy to listen to a little voice in your head telling you horrible, mean things about yourself. And that's another thing as well, the beauty standards between the both cultures are so different. In my early 20s, it was such a conflicting sense of like how I should look like, or how I want to look like, and how I want to be perceived. And now towards the end of my late 20s, when I have a few wobbly days where I don't necessarily feel as confident in myself as well, I'm not the same person as I was 4 years ago, and in fact I'm actually trying to embrace it more and have a more of a nurturing, nourishing relationship with myself, and to be able to converse with myself in a way that is a lot more healthier compared to how I used to speak to myself before. So that's been a big change and stuff as well. But I would also be lying if I still don't have little moments here and there where I'm just like, I just don't feel confident, I feel insecure, and sometimes I'm like, that's going to be one of those days, and that's okay, you know. And I am more mindful of that, and mindful of the way that I talk to myself, and mindful of the practices that I do, and just ensure that it's a lot more balanced, so I am still feeding myself, excuse the pun, mentally and physically as well, and to be able to really nurture that relationship I have with myself. At the risk of sounding so pretentious, but underneath this physical external, there's the siren out to get me for being too soppy. Under this physical external vessel that we are in, I just have to keep reminding myself that my body is keeping me alive and healthy and well. I'm able to go and see my family and friends. I'm able to, you know, exercise. I'm able to do all sorts of things and fuel my body. And these are things I need to give thanks about, and not, you know, feel so bad about punishing my body for not conforming or looking like a unrealistic beauty standard and ideal, where even if you were to reach a certain goal, if you don't work on the relationship we have with ourselves at a core, no matter what we look like or who we are on the outside, will never be able to be fully accomplished and make us feel fully comfortable with who we are. I don't know where I was going with that. But you know what I mean, right? That's why for me the biggest investment has been on myself, and to be able to work on myself mentally, and then that will then feed the rest of me as well, and hopefully radiate a shinier, not even have to be shinier, just a more happy version of myself, and a more accepting version of myself, let's just say. That's my current thoughts, wrapped up in a very, no doubt, long and rambly video. I hope I've made some sense, and I hope that it's resonated with some of you as well, and is able to make you feel a little bit more understood. I just wanted to thank you for being able to provide me with such an amazing online community for me to fully be myself over the years. Like, I've been creating YouTube videos, oh look at me being teary, for so many years now, and you've seen me grow up from when I was 18 years old to now approaching 30 years old, and it fills me with so much pride and just so much appreciation and gratitude as well. And I know it's so cheesy, but just wanted to say thank you for sticking with me for so many years, and even if you're new, for choosing to like take time up to day to watch these videos, which is so much, because time is the most important thing you can give somebody. So thank you for your time, no matter how much of it there is, because I am so rambly. I'm going to end this video here, and if you do want to take charge of your mental health and want to take advantage of the 10% off your first month at BetterHelp, betterhelp.com, then go on that, betterhelp.com/shoe for 10% off, and I'll see you in my next video. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, my loves.